Sell or Be Sold: How to Get Your Way in Business and in Life by Grant Cardone. Picture this: a millionaire salesmaster who can sell ice to penguins, suddenly frozen in his tracks. All his swagger, all his skills, completely useless. Why? Because he just met Elena. The moment Grant Cardone saw her on that film set, he was done for, completely sold, head over heels. There was just one tiny problem. She looked right through him like he was a ghost. When he finally worked up the courage to call her, using a number he'd hunted down from a friend, she gave him the cold shoulder. Again. Defeated, he did what any grown man does in crisis. He called his mom. "I met the woman I'm going to marry," he told her, "but she wants absolutely nothing to do with me." His mother, in full protective mode, offered the kind of sensible advice mothers give. "Grant, honey, it takes two people to make a relationship work. If she's not interested, you can't force it." And right there, in that moment of crushing defeat, something magical happened. As those words hung in the air, "It takes two," Grant had a revelation. That's what everyone believes, sure, but what if everyone's wrong? What if waiting for someone else to meet you halfway is exactly why most people never get what they want? He made a decision right then. This isn't about her. It's about me. It doesn't take two. It only takes one person with enough belief, enough determination, and enough skill to make it happen. That man went on to build a real estate empire worth hundreds of millions, became an international sales phenomenon, and yes, eventually married Elena. The book we're diving into today, Sell or Be Sold, isn't really about hawking products. It's about that breakthrough moment, understanding that everything in life, from landing your dream job to getting that first date, is essentially a sale. Here's what I promise you. By the time we're done today, you'll see the world through a completely different lens. You'll realize you're already in the game of selling every single day, whether you know it or not. And more importantly, you'll have the keys to stop letting life push you around and start creating the future you actually want. This isn't just for people in sales. This is for anyone who's tired of settling. Let's tackle the elephant in the room. When I say salesperson, what image pops into your head? If you're like most people, it's probably not flattering. Maybe it's some slick character in a polyester suit, talking a mile a minute, trying to con you into buying something you'll regret tomorrow. Grant Cardone wants to blow that stereotype to pieces, because he believes it's one of the most damaging myths holding us back. Here's how he reframes it. Selling isn't manipulation. At its core, selling is simply the art of persuading someone to say yes to an idea or action. And once you see it that way, you realize it's happening everywhere, all the time. That kid negotiating for 10 more minutes before bedtime? Selling. The entrepreneur pitching investors on their startup? Selling. You, trying to convince your friend to see the movie you want to see instead of theirs? Absolutely selling. Cardone even jokes that a golfer standing over a putt, muttering, "Get in the hole," is attempting to sell, trying to influence reality through sheer will. The foundational truth of this entire book is beautifully simple and impossible to escape. You are in sales. Every day, in countless ways, you're either selling your ideas, your vision, your worth, or someone else is selling you on theirs. There's no neutral zone. You're either making things happen or having things happen to you. You sell or you get sold. That's the game. And this isn't abstract philosophy. It has real consequences. Cardone points out that the number one reason businesses fail isn't lack of capital. It's that their ideas didn't get sold fast enough or to enough people, and they ran out of runway. Selling is the engine that powers everything. Without people who can sell, products rot in warehouses, brilliant ideas die in notebooks, and the entire economy grinds to a halt. So what separates the people who consistently get their way from those who constantly feel powerless? What's the difference between shaping your destiny and drifting wherever the current takes you? According to Cardone, it comes down to one fundamental choice: deciding to be a professional instead of an amateur. An amateur dabbles. They hope things work out. They wish and pray and cross their fingers. They treat important things like hobbies. showing up when it's convenient and bailing when it gets hard. A professional, on the other hand, is all in. They don't hope, they prepare. They don't wish, they execute. And the first step to becoming a professional at anything, especially at getting what you want in life, is the most critical move you can make. It's the decision to commit, completely. The word commit literally means to devote yourself entirely to something, not mostly, not when you feel like it. Entirely. Cardone loves the old story about burning the ships. When you eliminate all escape routes, you have no choice but to succeed. He says the person who thinks the grass is greener on the other side is the same person who never commits to watering and caring for their own lawn. Those greener pastures you're jealous of, they're only green because someone else committed to them. He shares his own turning point. At 25, he'd been floating in and out of sales jobs for 5 years. He was mediocre at best, and because he wasn't winning, he hated the job. Classic vicious cycle. Then one day, lightning struck. The job wasn't the problem. He was. In that moment, he made a real commitment to master sales, to study it like a serious craft, to become truly professional. And the moment he did, everything shifted. His energy, his approach, his language, and most importantly, his results. It felt like magic, but it wasn't. It was commitment. When you commit at that level, something remarkable happens. You develop the ability to predict. As you immerse yourself in your craft, you start noticing patterns everywhere. You study every interaction, dissect every failure, celebrate every win. Cardone used to record his sales calls and watch them, like an athlete studying game film. Over time, something clicked. He started knowing what customers would say before they said it. He could anticipate objections, read hesitation, sense exactly where the conversation was heading. This isn't magic or mind reading. It's simply the result of deep, obsessive observation. He compares it to legendary athletes like Wayne Gretzky or Michael Jordan, who often described seeing plays develop in slow motion while everyone else was scrambling to keep up. They weren't just reacting, they were 3 steps ahead. The ability to predict gives you unshakable confidence. When you know what's coming, you're in control. And when you're in control, fear evaporates. This unlocks another profound insight. Cardone asks a deceptively simple question. Why would someone truly dislike any activity? Most would say fear of rejection, laziness, lack of talent. But he cuts through all that. The only reason you don't like something is because you don't know what you're doing. A surgeon who can't save patients will grow to hate surgery. A teacher whose students fail will become bitter. A salesperson who can't close will dread every customer interaction. When you don't know, you're not in control. When you're not in control, you can't win, and nobody enjoys losing. So once you've committed to mastery, what's the very first sale you need to make? It's not to a customer or client. It's to yourself. Cardone calls this the most important sale, and he states it like a law of physics. You can only sell to the degree that you are sold. You must be absolutely, unreasonably, unshakably convinced that your product, your service, your idea, or yourself is the best possible option. Not just good, not competitive, the absolute best. This isn't arrogance. It's conviction. Conviction is the ability to believe something so powerfully that your certainty becomes contagious. A sale happens, he explains, when your belief is stronger than someone else's doubt. At that point, they surrender their uncertainty and adopt your certainty. He tells a great story about selling his house. The best realtor in town valued it at $6 million. Cardone, however, believed the location was irreplaceable. One of a kind. So he told her to list it for $8.9 million. She thought he was crazy. But here's the thing. He genuinely believed it was worth that. He could see himself paying that price. 2 months later, he sold it for almost exactly what he asked. His conviction literally created the new reality. To reach this level of conviction, You need to put your money where your mouth is. He finds it astonishing how many people sell products they don't even own. If you truly believe something is a great deal, you should be first in line to buy it. Owning what you sell demonstrates certainty through action, and actions always scream louder than words. With this foundation of commitment and conviction in place, Cardone reveals the tactical secrets that separate the best from the rest. And many of them completely flip conventional wisdom on its head. Let's start with the biggest one, price. Ask 100 salespeople why they lost a deal, and 90 of them will blame price. It was too expensive. The competition was cheaper. Cardone says this is complete nonsense. Price is almost never the real issue. The true obstacles are usually unspoken objections, rooted in lack of confidence or enthusiasm for the product. To prove this, he ran a fascinating experiment. A salesperson insisted that if they slashed the price of seminar tickets, they'd double attendance. So Cardone agreed to test it. For a seminar in Detroit, a city where he typically packed the house, he dropped the price to 1/10 of normal. The result? The lowest attendance in 20 years. When he asked the handful of people who showed up why they thought turnout was so bad, they said, "At that price, we figured you wouldn't even be there in person. We assumed it was just going to be some video." The lesson hit like a truck. If something's too cheap, people assume it's worthless. After that disaster, he doubled his original ticket price. Attendance at future seminars increased by over 100%. People don't buy based on price. They buy based on two things: love and confidence. Do they love the product so much they can't imagine life without it? Are they completely confident it will solve their problem? If the answer to both is yes, they'll find the money. People will scrape together their last dollar for a real solution. Your job as a salesperson is to create so much value, so much desire, that they want the product more than they want the money in their bank account. So what do you do when someone says it costs too much? The amateur immediately offers something cheaper. The professional does the exact opposite. Cardone's rule: when faced with a price objection, always try to move them up to something more expensive first. Sounds insane, right? But it's brilliant. If they're willing to look at the pricier option, it proves the objection wasn't really about money. It was about perceived value. They'd rather spend more and make the right decision than save money and make a mistake. The next game-changing principle is what he calls the magic of agreement. This might be the most violated rule in all of selling and, honestly, in all of life. The rule is simple: always agree with the customer. Always. Now, this doesn't mean the customer is always right. They're often completely wrong. But you must agree with their reality in that moment, if you ever want them to agree with yours. Think about it. People are naturally drawn to others who agree with them. Disagreement creates distance and defensiveness. Agreement creates connection and openness. If a customer says, "I need to think about it," the amateur argues, "Why? What's there to think about?" That just makes them dig in harder. The professional says, "You know what? I completely agree. Thinking about it is smart. That's exactly why you should take care of it now, so you can go home and think about how great this is going to be for you." He shares a hilarious personal example. He wanted to get a fourth-grade Dane. His wife was absolutely against it. So what did he do? Total agreement. "You're absolutely right, honey. The last thing we need is another dog." She was stunned. "Wait, you agree with me?" "Completely," he said. And just like that, with all the conflict drained from the moment, she looked at the puppy's picture again and said, "He is pretty cute, though." Boom. Dog number 4 came home. Agree first. Acknowledge their reality. Make them feel heard, and then guide them forward. The 3 most powerful words you can use: "You are right." The next 2: "I agree." Next, you absolutely must establish trust. In a world drowning in scams and broken promises, people are naturally skeptical. Cardone says, you must assume your buyer doesn't believe a single word coming out of your mouth. They only believe what they can see. This is critical. Show, don't tell. If you claim your product is faster, show them the performance data. If you say your service has great reviews, pull up the third-party ratings. If you're making a proposal, write it down. Put it on paper. A verbal promise is just air. The written word feels real, tangible, credible. It takes the pressure off them having to trust you and lets them trust the evidence instead. This brings us to the heart of Cardone's philosophy. Selling is about giving, not getting. It's about serving, not just closing. The only way to receive in sales is to give first. And he doesn't mean discounts. He means giving your full attention, your energy, your absolute best attitude, and an overwhelming level of service. He tells a beautiful, moving story. A friend in New Orleans encountered a rough-looking man on the street who asked permission to serenade his wife. The man got down on his knees and for 2 full minutes poured every ounce of his heart and soul into a song. His voice was so powerful, so raw and beautiful, it felt like it could shatter glass. When he finished, the husband, himself a career salesman, was so moved by this complete and total act of giving that he handed over a $100 bill and felt like it still wasn't enough. That man on the street gave everything he had, with zero guarantee of return. That, Cardone says, is the spirit of a true professional. Give everything to the person in front of you. So you've got the mindset, you understand the principles of value, agreement, and service. But what's the engine that actually drives it all forward? It's one of Cardone's most famous concepts: massive action. Most of us drastically underestimate the effort required to achieve anything significant. We think in terms of balance and moderation, work-life balance, taking it easy, not overdoing it. Cardone says forget all that. When it comes to action, think in massive quantities. He identifies 4 levels of action: doing the right thing, doing the wrong thing, doing nothing, and his personal favorite, massive action. Taking massive action means operating at a level that seems unreasonable, even crazy, to others. It's about creating so much activity that success becomes inevitable. The goal, he says, should be to create new problems. If your problem is not having enough leads, take so much action that your new problem is having too many leads to handle. That's when you know you're on track. This is where his legendary 10x rule comes in. Whatever you think it will take to reach your goal, multiply that effort by 10. If you think you need to make 10 calls, make 100. If you think you need 1 good idea, generate 10. This isn't just about working harder. It's about fundamentally changing the scale of your thinking and activity. If you have only 1 or 2 prospects, every rejection feels catastrophic. But if you have 100 prospects, a no is just a statistic. You barely notice it because you're already moving on to the next opportunity. This relentless drive separates the greats from everyone else. They don't wait for things to happen. They don't blame the economy or circumstances. They create their own economy through sheer, overwhelming, massive action. And this brings us full circle, back to that opening story. After a year of leaving monthly voicemails with no response, Grant learned that Elena's passion was competitive clay shooting. So what did he do? He didn't just casually suggest going shooting sometime. He took massive action. He rented out the entire Los Angeles gun club for the day, hired the best shooting coach in the city, and then called her with an offer she literally couldn't refuse. 60 seconds later, for the first time in a year, she called him back. They were married less than a year after that. He didn't get the girl because he got lucky. He got her because he understood that when you want something in life, it's your duty, your obligation, your responsibility to see it through. He was completely sold on the outcome, and he was willing to do whatever it took, for however long it took, to make that sale. That is the essence of sell or be sold. When you strip sell or be sold down to its essence, it presents a powerful and slightly uncomfortable view of reality. The central thesis is this: life is not a passive experience. It's an active negotiation happening every single day. Circumstances, other people, your own doubts. They're all constantly trying to sell you on a particular version of reality. They're selling you on what's possible, what you deserve, who you are. And if you're not actively selling your own vision, your own worth, your own dreams, then by default, you're buying theirs. What strikes me most about Cardone's message, especially for young people just starting out, is its fierce emphasis on personal agency. He completely rejects victimhood. The economy, your background, your boss, bad luck, none of it matters as much as your willingness to commit, to learn, and to take massive action. It's a message of radical responsibility. Whether a sale closes is entirely up to the salesperson, not the prospect. Extending that to life, whether you achieve your goals is entirely up to you, not the world around you. The book is a masterclass in perspective shifts. It takes selling, which most of us find kind of gross, and reframes it as the noble act of helping and serving. It takes rejection and reframes it not as personal failure, but simply as feedback that you haven't yet communicated value effectively. It takes pressure and reframes it as passionate conviction that you're genuinely helping someone make the right choice. This is way more than a book about sales tactics. It's a philosophy for effective living. And the lessons are immediately actionable. So here are a few simple things you can try starting today to put these ideas into practice. First, try the agreement challenge for the next 24 hours. Make it your mission to agree with everyone you interact with. When your friend complains about a teacher, start with, "I can totally see why you feel that way." When your parent asks you to do a chore you're not excited about, begin with, "You're right, that does need to get done." Just observe what this does to your conversations. Watch how it dissolves friction and opens up new possibilities. Second, practice the most important sale. Pick something you genuinely believe in, maybe a skill you have, an idea for a project, or even just your own potential. Take 5 minutes and write down every reason why it's truly valuable. Sell yourself on it until you feel that unreasonable conviction Cardone talks about. This simple exercise builds the most important muscle you have, belief in yourself. And third, think about one goal you have right now. Could be academic, athletic, creative, whatever. Now apply the 10x rule. What would 10 times the normal effort look like? You don't have to actually do it all immediately, but just by thinking at that scale, you'll start to see that the obstacles you thought were mountains are actually much smaller than your capacity to act. That's a look at Sell or Be Sold by Grant Cardone. We've covered the major concepts today, but here's the truth. A summary can only take you so far. The real power of this book comes from Cardone's relentless, infectious energy and belief in what he's teaching. It's in the hundreds of specific examples and closing techniques that fill every chapter. This summary is meant to give you a roadmap and help you decide if his philosophy resonates with you. If anything we've talked about today sparked something inside you, pick up a copy. Reading it isn't just about learning tactics. It's an experience that can genuinely shift how you see your own power to shape your life. The link is in the description below. Also, if you found this summary helpful, please hit that like button and subscribe. We explore the world's most powerful ideas, one book at a time, to help you build your own library of wisdom. Let's keep learning and growing together.